We're here with Jackie Chase, and she is the PR manager with Cunard Line. How are you today?
Great. Thank you for having me, Barry.
Well, it's really my pleasure. Now, I understand that the Queen Victoria was recently in San Francisco. Tell us about that.
Yes, it was fantastic. Her maiden call, January 27th, and it also marked her 250,000th mile in service. And like Queen Mary II's call there 3 years ago, we got an incredible reception. Mayor Gavin Newsom was there. He came on board, spent a lot of time on the ship, and declared that day Cunard Queen Victoria Day. So we had a lot of honoring and great reception, and we got great coverage, great broadcast and print coverage. So it was a really special day for us.
Now, Jackie, tell us a little bit about what you do at Cunard.
Sure. I'm the manager of public relations for Cunard in North America, and I work with my director, Brian O'Connor, and we basically are responsible for promoting our ships, to the markets here in America and Canada. We write the press releases, plan events, we work with sponsorships and partnerships, and so we're the ones that are, endeavoring to get our ships in the paper, on TV, online, so that everybody's aware of what we're doing at all times.
Now, Jackie, and I know the answer to this, but I want to ask you, what makes Cunard Line stand out among the other cruise lines?
Well, thank you. That's a great question, and we love answering that question. We are celebrating our 170th anniversary this year, so we're really pleased. And that is just a big cornerstone of what Cunard is, our history, our legacy, our traditions. And we are one of the oldest passenger shipping companies with the youngest luxury fleet. So the things that people love about Cunard are that we really provide the experience of the new golden age of ocean travel, the elegance, the glamour, the style, the fine dining. We have an incredible award-winning enrichment program on board. And people just love dressing for dinner and the formal nights and the civility and the refinement. It's a very special experience that, Cunard has been bringing for many, many years. And I think people really connect with that. And the history particularly is, again, a very big cornerstone. People love, for example, going on one of our signature crossings in and out of New York and just the iconic experience of sailing under the Verrazano Bridge and the Statue of Liberty and connecting with your ancestors who might have made that crossing, 100 years ago. I think it really resonates, and it's a very, very special experience. So those are just a few things that I think distinguish us.
Well, among many others, and we're actually aboard the Queen Mary right now as we speak.
I know, this is such a nice opportunity to be here. This ship is just living history, and we're so proud in LA to have the ship here and to be able to always touch that Cunard experience. And it really shows people what we're connecting with now. You can really walk around the ship and then be on Queen Mary II or Queen Victoria and feel that history and those traditions and that bygone era.
Jackie, tell me how the QE2 passengers that are extremely loyal, how have they transitioned to the newer ships?
Yeah, I get that question a lot. QE2, so beloved, more than 40 years in service, longest serving Cunarder, sailed 12 million nautical miles. Really an irreplaceable ship. And I think our very loyal QE2 guests, particularly British QE2 guests, they are really embracing Queen Victoria and Queen Mary II. And I think they enjoy the experience of Queen Victoria. She's a little bit more intimate, smaller than Queen Mary II. And I think a lot of those guests have found a lot of resonance there. But even though QE2 is not, in our service anymore, I think there's still a lot of that experience that's reminiscent on the ships that are in our fleet, and that will be Queen Elizabeth as well. So we're seeing people, continue to sail Cunard and be loyal, but I think everyone knows that QE2 stands alone and it really is an irreplaceable ocean liner.
She's a piece of history, absolutely.
Absolutely. Yes.
Well, now I'm going to read this question because it's a long question, but I want to get the wording right.
Okay.
The Cunard Line has been in operation since 1840 and is one of the most recognizable shipping companies in the world today, with a rich history of ships like the Queen Mary that we're on today, as well as ships like the Mauretania, the QE2, and now the QM2 and Queen Victoria. What is an example of some of the traditions that have stuck with Cunard throughout the years?
Well, another great question. And again, I always start that, with our history. I think that being 170 years, in the business, and so many iconic things that have occurred either with our ships, for example, during the war, with the Queen Mary and the Queen Elizabeth being enlisted into service, and Winston Churchill saying that Cunard was responsible for ending the war a year early, to moving into the golden age of ocean travel, and to continuing those traditions, I think that's just a really big piece of who we are. I think specific traditions are our White Star service, our anticipatory, incredible staff on board who really take that seriously. They study for it. We have a Cunard Academy that they go through the training. And, I've just heard such incredible feedback from people, outside of my world, just passengers that are sailing, how wonderful the staff are. And I think that, other traditions are, like, for example, in our grills. That's a long time Cunard tradition, the Princess Grill and the Queen's Grill, and that intimate, experience that those guests have. And in Queen's Grill, they have butler service, which again is a kind of a stalwart of past traditions, and just the Britishness as well. Afternoon tea, the Golden Lion Pub, all of those things that just make, Cunard, what we are. I think people just really connect with those things.
With the new Queen Elizabeth coming out, how is the Queen Elizabeth different in its decor to the Queen Victoria?
Well, there's going to be a much more heavy emphasis on the Art Deco. We obviously have those appointments on both Queen Mary II and Queen Victoria, but this ship is going to be much more evocative of that style. And in terms of paying homage to that era, we're going to have some new features are going to be the games deck, which is going to be a canopied covered deck with bowls and croquet and those kinds of more leisurely pursuit games. The Yacht Club, which was a signature on QE2. We're going to be paying homage to QE2 on that ship by having a yacht club. We're also going to have the Garden Lounge, which is a beautiful Kew Gardens-inspired room with a glass vaulted ceiling that's going to offer supper-style dinner and dancing. And the Midships Bar, which is going to be very much an homage to the original Queen Elizabeth with memorabilia and appointments to really evoke that. And still with the Cunard, signatures of the double and triple height ceilings and the marbles and the woods and the mosaic tiling. So there's just going to be a lot that's going to make her continue to be a Cunard queen, but she'll also have, her own distinctive personality.
Well, this question, I didn't tell you I was going to ask you this in advance, but I don't know if you can answer this, but I understand there was somewhat of a poll being taken in England about some sort of artwork or
yes.
What is that all about?
Well, what it is, it wasn't a poll. It was actually a contest that our UK team launched with the Daily Telegraph to basically put a bid out there to the public to submit design drawings for a signature installation, which is going to go in our arcade area, which if any of the viewers and listeners are familiar with Queen Victoria, we have the Dent clock there right now. And that's the company that created Big Ben in England. So right now, as we speak, there are, I think, 3 finalists that are being considered, and they'll be announced soon who that person is that came up with a completely original art installation that's going to be on Queen Elizabeth.
Can you give me an example of some of the pricing with Cunard Line?
Sure. Our 6-day transatlantic start from about $11.50. And the World Cruise, which Queen Mary II and Queen Elizabeth will be doing next year, they start at about $20,000 per person. Our Queen Victoria Fly Med season, we're looking at about $22.95 starting for those fares. So they're all on our website, cunard.com, and there's a lot going on this year that hopefully people will be interested in booking.
Well, I want to encourage our listeners and those watching this video to check out cunardline.com or cunard.com and see what they have to offer. Jackie, thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you. It's been